Hello and welcome to Reality Check. Tonight, decoding the mystery of VG Siddhartha, the founder of Cafe Coffee Day, one of India's biggest coffee chains, who disappeared next to a river last evening in Mangalore, so far without a trace. A disappearance that has come as a shock, given the perceived success of him and his group. Now, behind Cafe Coffee Day's success, were there hidden troubles? Because in a farewell letter, quote unquote, that VG Siddhartha sent out, it hints at pressures and harassment. Was there, as NDTV has discovered, a political link to the pressure faced by Siddhartha? Was there a dubious fund link to a prominent Congress leader? Now, the alarm bells about his disappearance went off, as we mentioned, when this farewell letter surfaced, where he said he had failed as an entrepreneur. He said that he faced a lot of harassment from the DG of Income Tax. He said tax authorities attached our shares, tried to block our Mindtree deal when he was trying to sell shares of the legacy IT company Mindtree. He also said he was on pressure to buy back shares from a private equity partner, and he had to borrow a large sum of money from a friend. So what were these pressures acting on him? What was the financial condition of the Cafe Coffee Day group which was making Siddhartha so jittery? Because remember, it seemed to have a massive growth. In 1996, it had only one outlet. By the end of last year, it had close to 1,700 outlets across India. But at the same time, debt was rising, and group debt stood 2019 at over 6,500 crores. And if you see the numbers, it's showing that debt was rising at a much higher rate, at a much higher number than revenue. So debt rose from 3,500 crores in 2014 to about 6,000 crores in 2019. Revenue, on the other hand, in that same period went from about 2,300 crores to about 4,500 crores. So there certainly were questions that were coming up. But still, the mystery has deepened with some of the details that our reporters have been tracking and unearthing. And Mariam Alvi is here with us. She's been digging out details from the records of Cafe Coffee Day. Arvind is here with us. He's got details on the political links which may have spooked VG Siddhartha. Let's just start with you, Mariam, because VG Siddhartha said in his letter that I have attached a list of annexures which makes it clear that whatever debt we have, whatever liability we have, will be settled. Now, you've actually looked at those numbers. What is it telling us?
Yes, Vasu. So, Mr. Siddhartha had said that he's going to enclose a list of his assets with the letter, and until now we did not have a copy of those assets, but we've just accessed that list, and it seems that Mr. Siddhartha has listed assets worth over 16,600 crore here. There are around 10
crores of assets.
Yes, 16,600 crores. And that's that's around 10 assets there. The biggest chunk is, of course, the Coffee Day, which he says would be worth around 7,000 to 800 crore.
7,000 to 8,000 crores.
Yes. Next, there are multiple real estate dealings, including land and buildings, which he estimates it to be around 4,000 crore. Then you have coffee again, coffee plantations this time, which would be around another 3,300 crores. So he might have actually been right in his letter where he says that this would be enough to help almost everybody and help repay everybody, and a total working up to 16,630 crores, right, Vasu, in that list.
Okay, so interesting, Mariam, because the group debt is around 6,000 crores, but he has in his own letter listed assets which add up to almost 16,000 crores. So that's almost 3 times as much. So then what was he worried about? Perhaps, of course, we have to underline here, he may be exaggerating the value of his assets as well. Let me just go across to Arvind, because Arvind, the point is that despite all of this, there does seem to be some question marks over his dealings, and you have found, the IT department told you, and we were the first to break this, that Siddhartha was raided because at first the IT department raided a prominent Congress politician, and that's what led them to Siddhartha.
Yeah, Vasu, the Income Tax Department initiated proceedings against senior Congress leader from Karnataka, that is D.K. Shivkumar, in August 2017 over tax evasion allegations. So after the raids at his premises, it also led to a raids at the premises of his finance secretary, that is Chandrasekhar. When they raided his premises, they got details alleging regarding the financial links between DK Shivakumar's daughter and also CCD. Also, this search also
sorry,
led to a
I just want to interrupt. There's an important point you made. So, just to remember the timeline for our viewers, August 2017, DK Shivkumar is raided, and then 1 month later, Siddhartha is raided. And that's where you said the IT department found that there were problems with Siddhartha's finances.
Yeah, so August 2017, they first raided DK Shivakumar. From there, it led to his finance secretary Chandrasekhar. From there, it again led to Rajneesh, who's a Singapore citizen as per the income tax department. During the raids at his premises, they found around 1.2 crore of unaccounted cash. When they interrogated him, he allegedly confessed that this particular cash belongs to Siddhartha. So that's how this matter from DK Shivakumar led to Siddhartha, and Siddhartha premises were raided by the income tax department in September 2017, where they found around 440 crores of unaccounted cash. Also,
I see. Okay. So basically what has happened is that the IT department found that there was undisclosed wealth that Siddhartha had not declared. So they blocked his sale of Mindtree shares that he needed to sell to pay down debt. Finally, when he agreed that he'll only sell those shares to pay off his debt, they fought back, and so the IT department allowed it. So Siddhartha was allowed to sell those shares for about 3,000 crores and pay off the debt. But Arvind, at the same time, the IT department has also responded, saying that they did not harass him, that they did not try to put pressure on him, and they released a statement, and that statement says that Siddhartha had actually admitted to unaccounted wealth, as you mentioned, of 444 crores. That's why they froze the shares. Then they revoked it in February, and then they went through and sold it for 3,000 crores. Arvind, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So the big news coming out of the Siddhartha web, the maze of CCD, suggests both political links, DK Shivkumar in play, and also the fact that he's now said that he had assets worth 16,000 crores. All right, DK Shivkumar was one of the many visitors this morning to SM Krishna's house. SM Krishna, of course, is the Congress leader, former Congress leader, now is the BJP, Siddhartha's father-in-law. And DK Shivkumar came out of that meeting and said this.
I don't expect that you would have gone to a stage of raising suicide. I expect some fishy in this. After 12 years of the incident which we came to know, I thought that it is the right on my part to go to request the authorities to have a deep investigation. Chief Minister was here this early morning, and in all angle it has to be looked into. Since he's a very bold, generous, large-hearted entrepreneur, I think I have my own doubt.
So very disturbed DK Shivkumar there. We were not able to get a response from him, of course, to these IT department's allegations that the probe into Siddhartha was linked to DK Shivkumar. Now, the IT department claimed that Siddhartha's signatures in the farewell letter did not tally with the signatures they've seen. The authenticity of the farewell note, as they put it, his not known signature does not tally with Sri VGS's signature as available in his annual report. So we actually looked at that and looked at whether that's true or not. So if you see, on one side we've got the farewell note, and it does not match with the annual report of 2016. We went through some other annual reports as well to see if it matches. Doesn't seem to match with the 2017 report, doesn't seem to match with the 2018 report as well. But it does match with a financial report that has been filed by CCD in 2019. That seems to match with the farewell note signature. So Siddhartha's signatures also seem to be changing, but the IT department's claims that they do not match with the financial disclosures of the company do not entirely add up. So that mystery, at least for the moment, seems to be resolved. But how is India Inc. responding to the Siddhartha disappearance? Many of them have come out and tweeted. One of them was Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw of Biocon, also Bengaluru based like Cafe Coffee Day. I spoke to her earlier about the vanishing CEO. Thanks very much indeed, Kiran Shaw, for joining us. I assume, and I've been seeing your tweets as well, that you were as shocked as anyone else when you first heard this news.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've known Siddharth for many, many decades. And, you know, he doesn't come across as someone who would take such an extreme step. So I'm really shocked because, you know, from reading from the letter that has been, you know, shared in the public domain, it appears that he has taken this extreme step from a sense of hopelessness and helplessness. Because I understand he's gone through some extreme financial difficulties. But, you know, I don't understand why someone like him couldn't have sorted it out. So it's come as a horrible shock.
Right. So, Kiran Shaw, there are 2 points that he makes in his letter. One is that he talks about the fact that he was harassed by income tax officials. He said they repeatedly harassed him while he was trying to sell his shares in Mindshare. This is, of course, an IT company that he exited in March this year because I think he was also trying to reduce debt for his own company. So, one is he talks about that. And the other, of course, he talks about the fact that he also was under a lot of pressure from someone who was one of his private equity partners who was forcing him to buy back shares. What do you make of that? And what is that telling you also about the current environment in which entrepreneurs are operating?
So it's very obvious that, you know, he had to put up with, you know, an attack from multiple fronts. One is, I'm sure, his bankers were putting a lot of pressure on him,
right,
to reduce his debt. I'm sure the private equity fund managers were putting a lot of pressure on buying out their shares, because these days fund managers are not willing to take the kind of risk that they are supposed to take. And the third was the impact of the Enforcement Directorate and the Income Tax Officer.
right.
So I think, you know, maybe it came to a stage where he just saw no opportunity or light at the end of the tunnel to rescue his business.
Right. Now, you know, I wanted to ask you, because you said you've known him for a long time, and I think this is a news that has come as a surprise to many of those who've known him and also followed CCD's fortunes, that it didn't seem like the company was doing that badly or that he was facing this kind of pressure.
No, I think it was, you know, public knowledge that he was challenged with, you know, running Cafe Coffee Day profitably. And, but one didn't realize that the magnitude of the financial stress was so huge.
Right.
And in fact, when news came about that he had sold his stake in Mindtree for 3,000 crores, I think people felt that it would actually help him to revive the fortunes of Cafe Coffee Day very, you know, optimally.
Right.
So I think that's the general kind of sentiments in corporate India. But now, you know, when all the information has actually kind of come out into the open, obviously it doesn't seem to be the same story.
Right. Kiran Shaw, I want to ask you, because you're right when you say that it's also to do with over-leveraging, and there's the other side to this idea of tax harassment, which is that tax officials are also saying that they're cracking down on cronyism, they're cracking down on any kind of malpractice. Now, Siddharth, as we know himself, was raided about 2 years ago by income tax authorities, and they claim to have found some sort of a political link. They say that they had to raid him because they were raiding, you know, senior Congress leaders, ministers in the Karnataka government. That led them to Siddharth. So there's that sort of other side to it as well.
Well, you know, I don't want to comment on all that, but needless to say that if anybody needs to be also investigated, there are a large number of politicians across party lines who are also guilty of amassing illicit wealth. So I think that is another big issue that we have in the country. But I don't want to comment on, you know, Siddharth's political link, because of course he is S.M. Krishna's son-in-law.
Yes.
But regardless of that, I think what we are talking about today is really a business challenge that many business entrepreneurs go through.
Yes.
But I didn't think it was so bad that he had to take this extreme step.
All right, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw there, thanks indeed for joining us. Okay, joining us tonight on the show, we have with us Vivek Reddy, lawyer, leader BJP from Bengaluru. Also joining us, Gurcharan Das, writer, commentator, former CEO, and Sharbir Panag, a lawyer who looks at questions of financial crimes. Now, Sharbir, you know, at the outset, spoke to anybody and they all were very surprised at what had happened, because it seemed like it was a healthy business, and you know, he was one of the sort of rising stars of India and particularly Bangalore's entrepreneurial scene. But if one looks at the financials now, there do seem to be some questions. There is of course a large amount of debt, but more worryingly is the claim made by the IT department, which suggests that perhaps there may have been some kind of link to dubious political funding.
Yes, Srinivasan, I think there are two elements of it. One is the stress of the business was fairly evident from the element that the debt was almost 3 times the net worth of the company. Secondly, the IT department's press release in this regard has been fairly, they've sort of laid out their position. They continue to remain. It continues to remain. I don't think we can take either Mr. Siddharth's view conclusively or take the IT department's view conclusively, as it's subject to an investigation.
Yes.
But they do rely on a sworn affidavit of his, which definitely raises strong suspicions and makes us rethink at the circumstances, which are definitely unfortunate. I want to make 2 points on this. I think the first point being, there's been a lot of debate regarding pressure by the income tax authorities, and ultimately that is or the banks or private equity, and within legal bounds,
yes,
this pressure is but natural when debt is raised or there is a law enforcement issue.
Right.
So I think that's the one element. The broader question comes up is our Indian regulators and law enforcement authorities equipped to deal with financial crimes? Does every bad business mistake, does every issue with business, does every business failure mean that there was criminal intent and that somebody needs to go behind bars? I think there's a fine line between the two. A business can fail just like an individual can. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a criminal action.
Right.
Has that maturity evolved with law enforcement in India?
Yeah.
We have a long way to go there.
Okay. Gurcharan Das, again, this is a complex onion. We're trying to unpeel the layers. But on the face of it, several CEOs have come out. We'll try and put up some of those tweets. Kiran Shaw, who I spoke to earlier, was one of them. Several of them came out and said they were pretty shocked at what had happened, because he was someone who, as I mentioned, was a shining star of Indian entrepreneurship. But so how do you see it? Because there is also this allegation of financial malpractice, but then on the other side, he also says that he was harassed in his, in his quote-unquote farewell letter.
Yeah. Well, I do feel this is tragic, and I feel we don't know enough.
Yes.
And I don't think it's too early to start blaming people.
Yes.
But nevertheless, the reality today is that there is a trust deficit between the government and the private sector. And we should be concerned about it, because we are in a difficult economic situation. And so, frankly, the reality is that we have just come out of a terrible thing called angel tax.
Yes.
I don't know whether you know, the angel tax was something that if you as an entrepreneur,
yes,
received 100 rupees as an investment,
yes,
from a company,
yeah,
immediately the demand was made on you to pay 30 rupees to the government,
right,
which was an investment,
yes,
not an income.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine something more horrendous? I mean, you feel like crying.
Yes.
when you hear something like this.
But we did come out of it, as you
my point
mentioned.
to you is that obviously people should pay their taxes, but it's a matter of attitude. The reality is that the same person, whether it's Siddharth or another person, if you are treated with respect, if you are treated not like a criminal, if you are, I mean, here's a guy who created one of the great companies of India.
Yes.
And we should be proud. 1 billion people drink that coffee every day. He's changed, he's given young people so much pleasure.
Yes.
And what you've done is you have really, I mean, without knowing the cases, obviously you should pay his taxes.
Yes.
But my default position is there's a trust deficit.
Right.
And you are not going to help entrepreneurship in this country. So it should be a wake-up call.
Okay.
Wake-up call
Vivek.
for the government.
Right.
And also wake-up call for the entrepreneurs who
Right.
are over-leveraged.
Right. Vivek, it was actually quite a remarkable show of political solidarity this morning at S.M. Krishna's house. S.M. Krishna, the father-in-law of V.G. Siddhartha. Parties, political leaders across party lines went to meet him. D.K. Shivkumar was there. Deve Gowda was there. We've seen the BJP, Mr. Yediyurappa saying that we will make all efforts to try and find him. So clearly, he was hailed as a sort of son of Karnataka to be proud of. But at the same time, Vivek, the fact is that the IT department did say that they raided him after they raided D.K. Shivkumar. And those raids themselves were seen by the opposition as a kind of political vendetta. So again, this balancing act between, on one hand, you're trying to clean up political corruption, that's fine. But does it become vendetta? Does it become harassment? Does someone like a Siddhartha get caught in this political crossfire?
Well, Vasu, it's a very difficult question. The point is that when you find illegalities and wrongdoings in a politician's accounts, whoever it may be, and then the money trail is traced to another person's account, the income tax will have to do its job as per the laws of this country. It cannot just say that the criminal wrongdoing or an unintended involvement cannot be just left aside at that point of time. They will have to investigate and take it to its logical end.
Right.
But the point is, Vasu, we see a cocktail of circumstances here. It is not just the private equity stress, it is not just the debts, it is not just the income tax department's pressure, or as he has worded it. We find the income tax department also reverting back and saying that they were inquiries. So we find a cocktail of circumstances. It is difficult to find out what really ran in the mind of Siddharth to take such a extreme step.
Okay, you're
But
right.
one
We
thing
don't know enough.
That
we don't know enough. But let me try to go across to somebody who may know a little more, and that is K. Giri Prakash, who's Chief of Bureau of the Hindu Business Line in Bangalore. Giri Prakash, thanks for joining us. Now, Giri Prakash, I don't know if I can share this with our viewers, but you were actually trying to work on a biography of Cafe Coffee Day, which you were working on. Was there anything that you came across at that time which kind of connects to some of the things that we are learning today? Bless you, Vivek.
Yeah, if you look at during the last 6 months, he kept on selling off his assets. First he sold off Mindtree, then there was this talk about Global Tech Village on Mysore Road in Bangalore, where quite a few IT companies are based. That was put on the block, and one of the PE investment firms was looking at buying it. And then he was planning to sell off his entire Cafe Coffee Day chain itself,
right?
Which sort of indicated that he was quite desperate to sell off his assets. The one got to know a bit about the fact that he was in a lot of debt. So in some ways, it quite indicated that there was trouble brewing in his empire.
And also, Giri Prakash, the allegations that were made about the fact that there was some political funding as well, the D.K. Shivkumar link. What did you make of that? But, given the fact that there was this political connection to Siddhartha, Mr. S.M. Krishna was there, that there was always this kind of sense of the source of funds. Do you do you feel that those charges were somewhat unwarranted, or was there something there which did raise questions?
He was always involved in some or the other way as far as politics is concerned. If one recalls when Veerappan went and kidnapped the Kannada matinee idol Dr. Rajkumar, apparently he was the one who arranged for the ransom for the release of Dr. Rajkumar, and the money was paid through his private funds, and this has been substantiated by one of the top police officers during that time, and then there was always this cloud of hanging over his head that he had a lot to do with his father-in-law's money and and
so I think those are questions which
there was a bit of a round tripping that was happening all the time.
Right. Okay. Well, of course, those are questions which have no easy answers, but we'll have to wait and see. At the moment, at least tonight, he is still missing, and we feel for his family. We do hope that there is some good news at the end of all of it, but certainly the financial web surrounding Cafe Coffee Day seems to be much more complex than any of us could have imagined when the news first broke. Thank you all so much for joining us. That's all the time we have on Reality Check. Good night.